Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. The last time we saw Sergeant Nicholas Brody, he was saying goodbye to Carrie and heading into the woods after being framed for the bombing of the CIA headquarters. Where is Brody right now? Where will he begin season 3? Joining us this morning, star of Homeland, Emmy winner Damian Lewis, to definitively answer all these questions that readers have already been lining up with a lot of Homeland questions. Damian, good morning, or
Hey,
good evening.
how are you? Yes, good evening here. That's right.
I guess the big news from last week and the Homeland event that they had with the television critics was that Brody will not be in at least the first 2 episodes of season 3 of Homeland.
Yeah, that's right. I think it surprised some people, which just goes to show you that the writers haven't lost the knack. You know, it's as Alex Gantz has said at the TCA's, at the Television Critics Association gathering, that it was really a function of story. I think they couldn't not deal with the calamity that had befallen the CIA, and the CIA really is in the dock, and it needs to answer for its inability to protect itself. And if it can't protect itself, how can it be expected to protect the country? So there's a lot to get through, and I think in an effort to promote Saul's character front and center into the story in a way, even more so than he has been before, we have to see what action he'll take as his first action that he'll take as the temporary director of the CIA. So there was lots to get through. Brody has just disappeared into a network of tunnels, and I don't know, who knows. I don't think Carrie knows where he is. So when we find him, Lord knows what state he'll be in. But it'll be interesting to see him.
I imagine that Alex and the producers gave you a heads up. They didn't just send the script for episode 1 and you're paging through it going, well, where's my lines? Where's Brody? I mean, they gave you like a warning that you're not going to be in the first couple of episodes.
We talked about it a lot right up until the last minute, and I think right up until the last minute they didn't quite know what Brody was going to be in and what he wasn't going to be in. And I think this is largely because Brody is he has a stay of execution, I think, on this show. I think there were moments they could have killed Brody, and for whatever reason they've chosen not to. But I think I don't think they like me, and I think they're dying to kill me. I think they just can't wait to find some devastating way me to meet my maker. And they know I'm going to St. Nick. I'm not going the other way. I'm going to Old Nick. So I think, I think the success of the show surprised everybody a little bit, because you don't write a show expecting it to be that successful. And I think the success of that central relationship between Brody and Carrie surprised everybody, because nobody knew whether it would work or not. And as a result, I'm still here, being a pain in the backside to everybody, just getting in the way, upsetting people. People die all around me, and I kind of crawl forward like a cockroach, indestructible. We'll see. We'll see how long it lasts.
The relationship with, I mean, from what I understand, Alex also said that Brody's family will be returning. I mean, the relationship between Brody and his daughter Dana was always such a key part of, I think, the Brody character, and you really left that kind of in a strong place in that season finale for season 2. I imagine they'll be exploring the family fallout in the wake of him leaving.
Yeah, well, I think you're right. Brody is Brody is not a stable character, as we know, and but his relationship with his daughter was a very grounding relationship that, in fact, was so strong and powerful in his life that it prevented him from committing the terrorist act at the end of the first season. He oversteps his mark with her, places too much responsibility on her young shoulders, and tries to level with her about what it was that he was going through. And she's so appalled by what he tells her that she rejects him. It's an error of judgment on Brody's part. Not his first error of judgment, I might add, but it's a big error of judgment with regards to his relationship with his daughter. And she is badly affected by it, and you will see that at the beginning of season 3. You will see it through the first half of season 3. It has devastating consequences on her. And this is something that even I don't know yet at this point, because I've not had this conversation with Alex and the writers, but Brody is on the run. You would assume there are two compelling ways for Brody back into the main story. One is obviously through Carrie, but if it's not Carrie, you would think the other way is through Dana. So who knows? Maybe Dana, this 18-year-old girl, is going to go on some extraordinary adventure into the world of espionage and international politics. I don't know, but you would think one of the great emotional ends that need tying up in the show are not just Carrie and Brody, but with his daughter. So I would imagine that will have some play towards the end of the season.
And you mentioned that Brody isn't the most stable of characters. I would guess that being isolated, hidden where he is now, probably doesn't help with his state of mind.
Yeah, that's right. I think for somebody who suffered profound post-traumatic stress disorder as a result of being incarcerated in a cell for 2 or 3 years of his life, whipped and beaten and electrocuted and tormented psychologically, to be on the run and to be sent from one safe house to the next, one cell to the next, anonymously and to people that he's never met before, I think will just only serve to trigger all those post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms again. And how well is Brody going to cope with that? I think, just a little, a little teaser, a little insight into Brody's story of season 3 is that he's how much more can Brody take? Brody actually, all through season 2, was a pawn being used by both sides because he's so malleable now, Brody. He's so impressionable. Once he decided that violence was not the way and he stepped down and retreated from that terrorist act in episode 1, season 1, he's really now, he's sort of like tumbleweed. He's there to be used and abused, and the CIA will use him. And Carrie, we know, is a ruthless character, and that's what's so brilliant about the ongoing relationship between those two, is that she genuinely loves this man. I think there is a strange and deep recognition and connection between these two, and they know they're dangerous to one another. And they're always caught between, whether they should use each other or sleep with each other. And when they're sleeping with each other, whether they're doing both at the same time. It's an endlessly confusing problem, ambiguous problem for them. And season 2 really saw that ramped up to the nth degree. Season 3 we'll just see Brody's descent into the circles of hell, I think. And my suspicion is that Brody will have to descend so far, will have to reach almost a point of disintegration as a person before he can make any sort of comeback. And in many ways, that might be a prevailing theme for the season. You know, that might be true of Carrie. It might be true of Saul. I think it's true of the CIA. The recovery they have to make to win over public favor again, public opinion. So I think it'll be a season about broken people and broken institutions rebuilding themselves, or this being Homeland failing to rebuild themselves. We'll see.
It sounds like fun. Sounds
Oh
like,
yeah,
well, fun for
yeah. It's just another date night, with the Homeland crew. Yeah, yeah. It's not.
we.
It's the anti rom com.
We do have a number of questions from people watching in, so I'm gonna fire some out for you.
Okay.
There's a question from Jan asking, what was the point for you personally when you realized how big a hit the show was for critics and fans? Was there a flashpoint for you?
Yeah, it was instant. It was when it came on air. You shoot in a vacuum when you're shooting. It's like making a movie. You shoot and then, you expect to see it a year later on the screen. There's a very peculiar moment when you're still shooting your series and you're usually on about episode 8 and the first episode comes out. And then you're shooting your show and seeing public reaction to it all at once. It's an oddly interactive experience with the public. And by episode 2 or episode 3, we seemed to have there seemed to be great passion about our show. Everyone was talking about it. The critics loved it, and Showtime were getting some of the biggest figures they'd ever had for a new show, and we were catching up with, the greatest of their shows to date, Dexter, and it's just suddenly Showtime was, the place to be, and it was very exciting. So it was pretty instant. And I've been in hits before where there's been a slow burn. Things like Band of Brothers, which sort of had a really slow burn, like sort of like a year later, 2 years later, it entered the public consciousness in a very profound way, but not instantly. With Homeland, it was just like bang, and we all went, "Wow, this is interesting and weird and great all at the same time."
We have a question from Karen asking, with so many sides to Brody, have you had any difficulty with the evolution of the character? I mean, there's so many levels of deception and levels of the show not really making things, kind of keeping things opaque to viewers. Do you have trouble with that as an actor, or how do you deal with it as an actor?
That blank, ambiguous look I have in Brody's eyes a lot of the time, it's because I haven't made a decision about anything. I have no idea what to do next. So that really plays strongly into my hand.
Yeah.
No, I think the important thing is you got to make a decision. If you don't make a decision about a precise moment, you'll end up with some sort of blancmange. It'll end up with some sort of, unrisen cake. It'll just look like a sort of flabby sponge, your whole performance. So you have to make very specific decisions. You have to play one thing at a time, and you play it very quickly, and you alternate between the two. It's like the synapse is going constantly. And as quicksilver as you can be with your thoughts and your intentions, that's what gives the overall impression of a confused ambiguity for the viewer. But a lot of the time, I find myself making very specific decisions.
Yeah, I remember talking to Alex Gonza, the showrunner, and he said recently to me that his wife is still convinced that Brody planted the car bomb in front of the CIA headquarters.
Yeah,
despite him saying, no, it's not true.
yeah. You know, if only Alex knew what was true, that would be a help to all of us. He, you know, I mean, quite apart from the extraordinary feat of writing this stuff, uh, preparing it, and then laying it down in a cogent and interesting and thrilling way, what's even more remarkable is that these guys often do write with incredible spontaneity, because I think ideas and themes emerge all the time at the 11th hour, and they sort of just find themselves going in a slightly different direction and riffing on an idea. So who knows? Yes, Alex might believe that Brody didn't do it, and then he might come to a point, you know. Have you met Lauren? She's a powerful character, you know. She could be right. Alex just doesn't know that yet. She could be right. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, there was that line reading where you're looking out the window and you say, what's that car doing there? But you say it in a way that almost leaves it open to the possibility that Brody knew the car was going to be there.
Yeah, but that kind of those moments are great fun to play, because you don't want them to become arch. You don't want it to be knowing. You have to try and play as much as you can. You know, try and make that moment as sincere as possible, like a genuine. You know, genuinely perplexed about this car being there, but the moment at that point is so heightened that you don't have to do any extra work for the audience. The audience they have so much information at that point that they will be a split second behind you. So as Brody says, what's that car doing there? A split second later, I think everyone went, uh-oh. And that's the fun of those moments. And people afterwards will say, oh my God, he is such a BS artist. Clearly he knew. Other people will everyone will project their own ideas onto that moment. All you've got to do is play it absolutely sincerely.
Well, I understand you have to leave us now, but we appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see season 3 episode, at least episode 3. Maybe we'll see you.
Fingers crossed. Who knows?
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Thank you.